I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and not open them until I tell you to. And as you've closed your eyes, I want you to imagine a 6-year-old girl. 6-year-old girl that you might know at home, in your village, whether that's in Africa, Asia, in Germany. As world leaders promised, her life will be tremendously different 20 years from now, but only if they keep that promise. The question before was, what's in it for governments? Well, if they keep their promises, they tend to get re-elected. But that 6-year-old girl that you're imagining in your head, her future today is strewn with a multitude of challenges and barriers for success. And why is that? Because she is a girl. You can open your eyes now. Just recently, a bunch of researchers at Princeton University, NYU, and Illinois University launched a piece of research that certainly made my skin crawl. Let's see if I can do the same for you. That 6-year-old girl, a year ago, when she was 5, she thought that her gender was the most brilliant of any ever. She was so excited about being a girl. Now that she's 6, she wakes up in the morning and she thinks that she's less talented than boys. Think about that for a moment. At age 6, each one of the girls that you imagined actually believes that she's a second-class citizen. And that doesn't matter whether she's born in the US or in Germany or in Tanzania or in the slums in Delhi. And why is that? Because we know, everybody in this room certainly knows, and many, many more outside this, that securing rights and justice for young women and girls transforms their lives, their communities, their societies and nations. The evidence is overwhelming. But despite that evidence, we're seeing the emergence, not the spurring of action, but the emergence of worrying trends on a wave of populism to roll back girls' rights and women's rights, from the Mexico policy to the shift away from individual rights that have just been adopted in the UN Human Rights Council on the protection of the family. Progress that's been hard won and fought over the last 20 years is, as we sit here, rolling back. And as we all start to unpack the challenges and the opportunities of the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution and the advances in technology, and we get really excited, we also know that through every industrial revolution since the introduction of the steam engine, that each of these changes leave behind those that are at the bottom of the pile. And in 2017, this could easily mean that a lot of the action that will happen will perpetuate the discrimination of girls. So I believe that we stand today at a possibility of taking 2 roads. The first road, of course, is the one that we're already walking, and it leads to broken promises. It's Einstein that said that if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, that is actually the definition of insanity. So of course we all need to do something different. We all need to step out of our comfort zone, but we need to do something different, whether it's at the individual level or the organization level. How many of you that represent organizations really deeply feel that your organization is going to be significantly different, and do significantly different things in a year from now than it's doing today. Because if it's not, we can spend a lot of time in this room together and actually not move the needle. Now, the second road that we can take, of course, is that, and that will lead to the fulfillment of the SDGs, is to do something very, very different. For us, that meant that we took an 80-year-old child rights organization and we said, we've become a girls' rights organization. And we will dedicate the $1 billion a year that we spend to ensure that 100 million girls learn, lead, decide, and thrive. And through that, we will change and move the needle. So, of course, there are lots of actions that we all need to take. We need to stop the rollback on the progress that's already been made. We cannot stay silent. That's my second point. We need to have abundance of courage and shine a light on all the places where we're failing. Yes, we should celebrate successes and solutions and all the good things, but if we're not willing to shine a light on where we have perpetually failed as development practitioners, and I think most of us are in this room, for example, on gender-based violence, the needle has not moved for 30, 40 years. It's exactly the same statistic that we're perpetuating everywhere as we did 30, 40 years ago. 1 in 3 women in the world experience sexual or physical or mental violence. What's wrong with that picture? The real thing is that we don't have the courage to deeply, deeply challenge social norms and to actually start our own social transformation and revolution. We are talking about a revolution embedded in the SDGs. We tend to package it a little bit in slightly technocratic language, but we do have to realize that there is a real revolution that is needed for the SDGs to actually come alive. We, of course, must make the advances in the spread of technology something that really works, whether it's for gender equality or eradicating various diseases, etc. A great example for it is building on Plan International's Safe Cities program in Delhi and Hanoi and Cairo and other places, where girls themselves are engaging, and it links very much to the question that was asked before about local governments. Girls themselves are gathering evidence about where the cities are safe and unsafe, and they're sharing that with police and local councillors and politicians and the transport authorities and others, and spurring them to take action because there's some real evidence that they can work with. It's so easy. And together we can do that, and at the same time hit SDG 4 and 5 and 11 and 16 and 17 all in one sweeping go. Just a last point on, well, not a last point on gender equality, but let's stop talking about empowering girls. That's such a passive term. They really just need a fair start, a level playing field, and stop feeling as lesser when they're 6. And we must give them the platforms on which to speak and invest time and resources in improving their economic and social outlook. We all know the statistics on gender and females in leadership, but just to hold on to the whole issue of the cities that we want to make safer for women and girls, SDG 11, there are only 5% of the mayors in the world that are women. I'm just really hoping that some of the male mayors will take that particular SDG and make it a core of their program. I somehow doubt that they all will. We know that, and that's why we're all here, we need multi-stakeholder partnerships to achieve the SDGs. Because we at Plan International and a number of others, and I know many of you are in the room, feel that if we can actually move the needle on gender equality, not just on SDG 5, but on every single indicator across the SDGs, where we know that there are about 60, 70 indicators that speak specifically to the girl child and to women, advancing women. If we measured them alone, and we saw that needle move, then we would know we were achieving the SDGs. And if we measure them together and see that they're not moving, despite the fact that we'll get glossy brochures both from governments and from the UN and various other places that will show that some things are moving, if the needle isn't moving for the girl child, we're not reaching the SDGs. So in a new coalition that we will launch at the Commission for the Status of Women next in 2 weeks from now in New York, a whole coalition of private and independent organizations, civil societies, will launch a new initiative called Equal Measures 2030, which is a new data and advocacy initiative to, yes, hold governments to account for the promises that they made to the 6-year-old girl. As you do close your eyes, just for a last little second, hold your 6-year-old girl in your head again, and this time imagine a girl that has a chance to influence and shape the world around her. Our challenge is to make sure that this becomes a reality. Thank you very much.